This is the most hilarious theory I ever seen, but there isn't anything in One Piece that isn't hilarious. After the Shanks twin theory, this theory has so much lead and clue to be a coincidence. The theory that Imu is a parrot. Oda has foreshadowed many things for over 20 years, so even the tiny details can be a great asset for the future. For example, in Jaya Arc, when Blackbeard and Luffy was arguing about pie and drinks, the bartender had a tattoo that just looks like Imu's shadow. But at that time, no one expected that the tattoo in his arm is the king of the world. If the theory is correct, it will be the most Oda thing, so stop looking for a ghost or a hidden god in the shadows of the empty throne. For over 25 years, the One Piece community has been searching for a man, a woman, or an ancient soul, but the actual forensic evidence suggests we are dealing with something far more grounded and, ironically, far more ridiculous. Everyone knows the world's biggest secret is hidden on Laugh Tale, but the real secret might be that the supreme ruler of the world isn't even human. We need to stop viewing Imu as a standard villain and start looking at the biological and linguistic blueprints Oda has been hiding in plain sight. It all starts with a simple translation error that Western fans have been blind to for decades. In Japanese, the word for parrot is omu. If you break down Imu's name into its phonetic components, it forms the perfect paradox. O is the character for king, while mu represents nothingness. Imu is the king of nothingness, sitting on an empty throne. But linguistically, he is just an omu, a messenger bird. This isn't just a pun, it's a narrative structure. If Imu is a literal parrot, it explains the single most baffling rule in the entire series: the naming of devil fruits. Have you ever wondered why every power has to be stated twice? Gomu Gomu, Mera Mera, Ope Ope. This isn't just a quirky design choice. Parrots repeat words they hear without understanding their meaning. They mimic existence. They don't create it. Vegapunk told us that devil fruits are manifested by human dreams and hopes, but Imu is the one who named them by echoing the words of humanity like a bird in a gilded cage. The forensic details get even more intense when you move from the page to the actual anatomy. Look at Imu's crown. Most people assume those tall, needle-thin points are just an artistic choice for royalty. However, if you perform a frame-by-frame comparison with a cockatiel, you realize it is a perfect anatomical match for an aggressive crest. When these birds feel threatened or dominant, their feathers lock into that exact jagged position. Then there are the eyes. Those large, red concentric circles aren't just cool eyes. In the world of tropical birds, there is a phenomenon called pinning, where the pupils dilate and contract at high speeds during moments of intense predatory focus. We see these same eyes on Mihawk, who carries the epithet Hawkeye, and again on Imu. This is a predatory trait that belongs to the sky, not to mammals. But if Imu is a parrot, then the historical war between the ancient kingdom and the world government isn't just a political battle, it's a biological satire. Throughout history and media, from the fables of Aesop to Disney's Aladdin, there is a recurring rivalry between a monkey and a parrot. One represents chaos, adventure, and the drums of liberation, while the other represents mimicry, the status quo, and the echo of the master's voice. Luffy's name isn't just a random choice. He is the monkey, the animal of freedom. Imu is the parrot, the pet of the masters who stole the throne. This brings us to the biggest question in One Piece. Why did Roger laugh? Imagine reaching the end of a 20-year journey, solving the puzzles of the Void Century, and realizing that the terrifying monster ruling your world is actually just an immortal, overly ambitious parrot that belonged to Joy Boy. You find out the supreme tyrant is a shoulder pet that outlived its master and built a cage around the entire planet to keep itself safe. You'd laugh too. You'd laugh because the world is being held hostage by a literal joke. This bird logic ripples through the entire world government structure. Take the Five Elders. Rox D. Zebek, a man who actually lived through the history, famously referred to Imu and his council as the Rat King. This is a specific reference to a psychological and biological nightmare where a group of rats becomes physically intertwined by their tails, living as a single, multi-headed monster that consumes everything in its path just to survive. They are a nest of parasites feeding off the world, trapped in a room in Mary Joie's that, if you look closely at the architecture, resembles a giant luxury bird aviary. The world government logo itself can even be reinterpreted as a series of bird toys or perches. We see this theme of cages everywhere in Imu's arc. Doflamingo, a man with a bird name and flamingo feathers, uses a move called birdcage to trap an entire civilization. Oda was using the Dressrosa arc as a clinical trial for the end of the series. He was showing us how the world government views humanity, not as citizens, but as things to be caged, controlled, and mimicked. Even the 2002 Game Boy title, The Great Treasure of the Seven Islands, which Oda personally supervised, featured a parrot as the all-knowing guide who eventually revealed the dark secrets of the game world. The clues aren't just coming from the manga. They've been part of the multimedia footprint of One Piece since the beginning. As we move toward the final war, the evidence is becoming impossible to ignore. Whether Imu is a literal bird who ate a human fruit, or an ancient creature that evolved from a tropical pet, the logic is sound. It fits the tone of Oda's world building, something that starts as a funny pun and ends as the most terrifying revelation in history. If the series ends with a monkey fighting a bird for the right to let the sun rise, it would be the most Oda ending possible. It would confirm that in the world of One Piece, true freedom can't be taught or repeated. It can only be lived. And once the truth of that Bird King is finally exposed, the world government's lie won't just be broken, it will be hilarious. Because in the end, we were all terrified of a shadow, only to realize the person behind it was just parroting the power of those who came before. Subscribing to this theory is the only way to pass the ultimate lore check, because once the mask comes off, the King of Nothingness will have nothing left to say. If you have your own theory, drop it in the comment section and subscribe to the channel.